Focus on your purpose, not just relationships. It's easy to fall into the mindset that your worth is tied to your relationship status. Society often bombards us with messages that suggest we are incomplete without a partner, or that our happiness hinges on being in a relationship. But let me tell you this, before anyone can truly find you, you must first find yourself. Your purpose, your calling, your dreams, your passions is the foundation of who you are. It's what gives your life meaning. And when you focus on pursuing your purpose, you unlock a sense of fulfillment and joy that no relationship can substitute. Relationships, no matter how beautiful, should complement your journey, not define it. Imagine this. You're like a lighthouse, standing tall and shining your light. The right ship will see your light and be drawn to it, not because you dimmed yourself to fit into its path, but because you stood strong in your purpose. A lighthouse doesn't chase after the ships. It just shines, and the right ones come to it. That's how purpose works. When you're walking in alignment with your calling, you naturally attract the right people into your life, including the right partner. But let's talk about why this can be hard. Sometimes we think the only way to feel valued is to be in a relationship, even if it's not the right one. We put our dreams on hold, we make sacrifices that don't align with our goals, and we shrink ourselves to fit into someone else's vision. Let me tell you, a relationship that costs you your purpose is far too expensive. Focusing on your purpose means getting to know yourself on a deeper level. Ask yourself, what excites me? What are my gifts and talents? What impact do I want to have on the world? These questions will help you build a life so fulfilling and meaningful that whether or not someone else is in it, you'll still feel complete. And here's the beautiful thing. When you prioritize your purpose, the right person will recognize it. They won't just admire your drive. They'll encourage it, support it, and even help you grow into the person you're meant to be. The right relationship doesn't ask you to choose between love and purpose. It shows you how the two can work together. Remember this, your purpose is not just about your career or personal goals. It's about the way you live your life, the values you hold, the people you uplift, and the legacy you leave behind. A person who aligns with your purpose will be drawn to the light you create, not just the space you fill. So don't rush into relationships because you feel like you're running out of time. Don't settle for someone who doesn't see the brilliance of your potential. Instead, use this time to focus on building a life you're proud of. Learn, grow, and embrace your individuality. The right man won't just see you, he'll see the purpose you're walking in, and he'll want to walk beside you. And when that happens, you'll know it's not just love that brought you together, but a shared vision for something greater. Because when you focus on your purpose, you don't just let the right man find you, you let the right kind of love find you. A love that enhances your life rather than limits it. A love that celebrates who you are and the purpose you were born to fulfill. Be authentic, not perfect. In a world that constantly pressures us to present the best version of ourselves, it's easy to confuse authenticity with perfection. But let me tell you this, the most valuable thing you can bring to any relationship and to life in general is your authentic self, not some idealized, polished version that fits society's expectations. The right person for you doesn't need you to be perfect. They need you to be real. Authenticity begins with embracing who you are, flaws and all. It's about knowing your strengths, but also accepting your weaknesses. It's about being honest with yourself and others, even when it's uncomfortable. Being authentic means showing up as the person you truly are, not the person you think others want you to be. But here's the challenge. Perfectionism can sneak into our lives disguised as self-improvement. We convince ourselves that we need to look a certain way, achieve a certain status, or behave a certain way to be lovable or worthy of someone's attention. Social media, movies, and even our own insecurities feed into this idea that we must have it all together to attract the right partner. But perfection is a myth, and chasing it only sets us up for disappointment and exhaustion. Think about this. If you present a perfect facade to someone, what happens when they get to know the real you? The cracks in that image will eventually show, and maintaining the illusion will become a burden. On the other hand, if you show up as your authentic self from the beginning, the connection you build will be based on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. The right person won't just tolerate your quirks and imperfections, they'll cherish them because they're part of what makes you uniquely you. Being authentic also means being vulnerable. It means letting someone see the parts of you that you might feel tempted to hide. Vulnerability can be scary because it opens us up to the possibility of rejection. But it's also the only way to build genuine, meaningful relationships. The people who truly care about you won't run away when they see your struggles. They'll stand by you because they value the real you, not some picture-perfect version. And here's an important truth. When you embrace authenticity, you give others permission to do the same. By being real, you create a space where others feel safe to be real with you. This kind of connection is far more powerful and fulfilling than anything built on pretense or perfection. Let's also talk about how authenticity aligns with self-respect. When you're authentic, you don't compromise your values or principles to please others. You set boundaries, you speak your truth, and you honor your needs. The right man will recognize and respect this because he'll see that you're not afraid to be true to yourself. Now, authenticity doesn't mean you stop growing or improving yourself. It's not about staying stagnant or refusing to change. It's about being honest about where you are on your journey while striving to become the best version of yourself, not for others, but for you. Growth and authenticity go hand in hand because true growth comes from a place of self-awareness and self-acceptance. So stop worrying about whether you're good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, or successful enough to be loved. You are enough simply because you are you. The right man won't be looking for someone who checks every box on a checklist of perfection. He'll be looking for someone real, someone honest, someone who isn't afraid to be herself. Let go of the pressure to be perfect. Instead, embrace the beauty of being authentic. Because when you're authentic, you'll attract the kind of love that's built to last, the kind of love that sees you, accepts you, and celebrates you just as you are. 10. Your standards are your guardrails. Let's be clear. Standards are not about being picky, difficult, or unapproachable. They are about self-respect, self-awareness, and knowing your worth. Think of your standards as guardrails on the road of life. They don't exist to restrict your journey, but to ensure that you don't veer off course and end up in a place that isn't meant for you. Your standards define what you will and will not accept in your relationships. They act as boundaries that protect your peace, values, and integrity. Without them, it's easy to lose yourself in the pursuit of love or acceptance. But when you set clear, firm standards, you signal to the world and to yourself that you deserve respect, kindness, and alignment with your goals and values. One of the biggest misconceptions about standards is that they make you unapproachable or too selective. But let me ask you this. Would you rather be approached by someone who sees your true worth or by someone who only values what you compromise to please them? Standards don't close the door to potential relationships. They open the door to the right relationships. Think about it this way. If you were building a house, would you use materials that don't meet your expectations just because they're available? Of course not. You choose materials that are strong, reliable, and aligned with your vision for the home. The same applies to relationships. Your standards are the blueprint for the kind of relationship you want to build. They ensure that the foundation is strong enough to withstand challenges and grow over time. But here's the key. Your standards should come from a place of self-love, not fear or insecurity. They're not about creating a checklist of perfection for someone else to meet. Instead, they're about identifying what truly matters to you. What values do you hold dear? What behaviors are non-negotiable? What kind of partnership will help you grow and thrive? For example, if honesty and communication are important to you, make that a standard. If you need someone who respects your ambitions and supports your dreams, hold that as a standard. And if kindness and empathy are qualities you value, don't settle for anything less. These are not unrealistic expectations. They're reflections of what you need to feel safe, valued, and loved. Setting standards also means learning to say no. It means walking away from situations or people who don't align with your values. This can be hard, especially if you fear being alone or judged. But remember, every time you lower your standards, you compromise a piece of yourself. And over time, those compromises can add up, leaving you feeling unfulfilled and disconnected from who you truly are. When you maintain your standards, you teach others how to treat you. People will rise or fall to the level of respect and boundaries you set. And the right person won't see your standards as obstacles. They'll see them as a sign of your self-respect and strength. They'll want to meet and even exceed them because they value what you bring to the table. However, there's a fine line between standards and unrealistic expectations. Standards are rooted in respect and alignment, while unrealistic expectations are often tied to superficial or rigid ideas. It's important to reflect on your standards and ensure they're guiding you toward healthy, meaningful connections, not keeping you isolated. Remember, your standards are not just about relationships. They're about every aspect of your life. They're the way you show up for yourself and demand excellence in your career, friendships, and personal growth. When you live by your standards, you create a life that reflects your values and dreams. And when the right man comes along, he'll see that your standards aren't barriers. They're a roadmap to your heart. So don't be afraid to set the bar high. Don't be afraid to demand what you deserve. And don't ever apologize for having standards. They're not just your guardrails. They're your guide to building a life and a love that's worthy of you. Be patient, great things take time. Patience is a virtue, they say, but in a world of instant gratification, it can often feel more like a challenge. We live in a time where everything seems to happen at the speed of light. Communication, purchases, success stories, and even relationships. It's easy to believe that if something doesn't happen quickly, it isn't meant to be. But when it comes to finding the right person or building a meaningful relationship, patience isn't just a virtue, it's a necessity. True and lasting connections take time to grow, just like anything of real value in life. Think of a seed planted in the ground. You can't expect it to sprout, bloom, and bear fruit overnight. It requires sunlight, water, nourishment, and above all, time. The same principle applies to relationships. Rushing into something or forcing a connection can lead to short-lived satisfaction, but often leaves you unfulfilled in the long run. Being patient means resisting the urge to settle. It means understanding that loneliness is not a reason to compromise your standards or values. Society may tell you that your worth is tied to whether or not you're in a relationship. Friends and family might ask, "Why are you still single?" as if being alone is something to fix. But let me tell you this, being single is not a flaw, and waiting for the right person is not wasted time. Patience is about trust, trusting yourself, trusting the process, and trusting that what's meant for you will not pass you by. When you rush into relationships, you often overlook red flags or settle for someone who doesn't align with your values and goals. But when you take your time, you allow space for clarity, growth, and discernment. You learn to recognize what you truly want and need in a partner, and you position yourself to attract someone who aligns with that vision. But let's be real, waiting is hard. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, and you'll wonder if the right person is out there at all. There will be times when you feel like everyone else has found love except you. In those moments, remember this: great things take time. The best relationships are not rushed. They're built on a foundation of trust, respect, and shared values. And that foundation requires patience to establish. And that foundation requires patience to establish. While you wait, use the time to invest in yourself. Waiting is not a passive state. It's an active process of preparation. Develop your skills, pursue your passions, and focus on becoming the best version of yourself. This isn't about making yourself better to attract someone. It's about building a life that feels fulfilling and joyful, regardless of your relationship status. Bookend. Waiting is not a passive state, it's an active process. When you live a life of purpose and authenticity, the right person will be drawn to you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're whole. Remember, patience also applies to the relationship itself, not just the process of finding it. Even after you meet the right person, building a strong and lasting connection will take time. It will require effort, communication, and a willingness to grow together. Love isn't a finish line you cross, it's a journey you embark on, and every meaningful journey takes time. It's important to differentiate between waiting and stagnating. Patience doesn't mean standing still or putting your life on hold until someone else comes along. It means moving forward with faith and trust, knowing that the right person will meet you on your path. Your life's purpose doesn't begin when you find love. It begins now. Many times, we wait for the perfect opportunity to pursue our passion when we should be grateful for the opportunity. It begins now. Think of all the great things in life that require patience: earning a degree, building a career, raising a family, creating art, or mastering a skill. None of these happen overnight, but they're worth every ounce of effort and time. Why should love be any different? A great relationship is one of life's most precious treasures, and treasures are never found in haste. So, be patient. Let go of the fear that time is running out. The clock isn't against you, it's working in your favor. The time you spend waiting for the right person is time spent becoming the person who's ready for them. And when the right person does come along, you'll realize that every moment of patience, every second of doubt, and every ounce of faith was worth it. Great things take time, but they also last a lifetime. Trust the process and trust yourself. The right person is worth the wait, and so are you.